What is the power of your voice? You can't hear? I'm asking, what's the power of your voice? Forgive me, our men, our brave men in the room, honorary ladies. Yes? What do you believe is the power of your voice? Some of you are company secretaries, some of you are county attorneys. You're sitting in various positions of power. Wherever you're working, what do you feel is that power of your voice, wherever you work? Being part and parcel of decisions that are made in the organization. So you impact on decision making. I hope we promote social justice, addressing needs, and correlation with public services. How many of you get to sit on boards wherever you work, or board meetings? How many times do you speak? Is your voice heard when you're allocating resources? Is your voice heard when you're making a decision in recruitment? Some yes, some no. The question is sometimes is, as a woman making decisions and policies, when you find you're the only woman sitting in that board or sitting in that top management position, how do you feel? You have achieved, you're the top woman, you're the best, you've broken barriers. Thank you. The reality of what we should ask ourselves anytime we sit in any sitting and you find you're the only woman is, how can you get like-minded people to surround you? You know, decision making is not the leader alone. You make decisions and you need a driving force to support whatever decision. You need people who you can work with. You need people who will see that vision. And so be it, if you're alone, try and get 2, 3, 4, meaning you need to build that capacity. You need to open that opportunity. You need to work to ensure others can follow in suit. That is the challenge that you have even as a woman in terms of decision making. Now, I looked at the legal framework for women's inclusion. In international instruments, we have the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is CEDAW. Article 7 emphasizes women's rights to participate in public and political life, including decision-making process. I think FIDA Kenya is a great reminder of the Beijing Declaration, where advocates for gender balance in decision-making at all levels, and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Goal 5 targets gender equality, emphasizing the need for women's participation in decision-making. Closer home, we have the Protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, where FIDA again sits in the African Union as a civil society to monitor. We have the East African Community Gender Policy. We have our constitution that supports 2/3 gender, yet we are still striving to date with regards to the question of 2/3 gender in terms of how do we implement. Every time there's a discussion, I think the Dwale 2 bill was the closest to ever coming to a realization of women being involved, meeting that 2/3 gender requirement in terms of parliament. However, we fail. We still fail to date. Having sat in this space, sat both in FIDA and Law Society of Kenya, I've seen the evolution of these acts. And unfortunately, if we know members of parliament who are women, our greatest enemy sometimes are our women, particularly those who have been given nominations, and our women reps. People who obtained those positions by virtue of trying to meet that two-thirds gender, when they go into parliament, they fail to remember that you're supposed to ensure you're not the only woman in the room. I want you to look at the previous parliament and this parliament. Look at the women who are nominated, how many are back? Because once you're nominated, there's no opportunity to be nominated again. It is either you're able to shape up and be able to vie or get a different administrative position, or you find yourself out on the cold. And yet when you have a 5-year warming period, you fail to think of how do I secure for myself? Because even if you don't want to secure for other women, think how do I secure for myself a political position to come in? Because by putting that two-thirds and effecting it, because the best way that I know we can do it is through political parties. And what political parties do, and that's why when they're seeking to change the Political Parties Act, I hope as women will be very vocal on it to ensure our inclusion and to also question. Look at all these parties. How many women, now we have women sitting as chairs in these political parties because it's now the sexy term to have a woman. But in terms of who are the leaders of the party, how many parties are women-led? How many parties are women-led? By Martha Karua. The dominant parties that run our country are led by men. And so they will be the decision makers in terms of who sits. And then question yourself, when they set the committee that vets who gets a ticket, where are the women? You will see male-dominated, and therefore there will be no interest in women's inclusion. Because when men are sitting at a table, they'll be thinking, who is able to get my interest? So if you're coming in as a woman, you either meet the terms as other men, or they'll want other favors from you. But if you're having that committee including women, then you have that opportunity to have a face that can recognize you and see you as, let us give this woman a chance. So that we have also in our party, because what most political parties do, ODM is strong in Western and Nyanza. So ODM will nominate women in Central, or it's Western, Nyanza, Kisii, and Nairobi. So party tickets will be given majority to women in Central and Rift Valley, where they are very sure that they will not get votes. So if you win, you really deserve to win if you won with that ticket. And UDA will similarly, they know they were strong in Central and Rift Valley. So they will give women, and also partly Nairobi. So they will give women tickets for Nyanza and Western, areas that things are not looking so, and coast, because ODM also is strong in the coast area. It's like playing the cards. The probability of having women meeting now that two-thirds gender is probably 0. So the challenges that we have in not also changing the laws to ensure that inclusion. So as we are coming into that change, the question is, are we going to ensure that women take up seats? Looking at historical context, we are growing in terms of opportunities for women. Just looking at this room, you're sitting in various positions of power with regards to either you're sitting as company secretaries, you're sitting in high management positions as directors, deputy directors, county attorneys. So all of you by your right are sitting at the table. Women are doing great things in the private sector and somehow in the public sector. In judiciary, women are doing quite well. However, the question now that we ask ourselves, how are women doing in other sectors, political, is the biggest question that we're still left with. I say something that interested me when I really knew women have made great strides in the judiciary is when there was the elections for the Judicial Service Commission representative at the Court of Appeal. And there were two judges that I knew quite well, and now the representative, Justice Shichale. So I was not even considering her mentally as we were arguing who would possibly be the new representative, because we were looking at politics from a tribal angle, and we're looking at this judge has this number from his tribe, they have agreed with this other tribe, they possibly have the numbers. This other judge also, if you look at his demography, he has the numbers to win it. But what we forgot was a bigger demography, the women demography. So she played the women card. And it surpassed tribe, it surpassed race, it surpassed religion. So the women in the Court of Appeal came all together and said they are supporting one of their own, because they had not had a woman representing them at the Judicial Service Commission. From its inception, it was man after man. So it goes to a man from this tribe or a man from this area of religion. So this time they came together and they amassed. The previous speaker talked about women's soft power. I tell you, women's soft power works. It's harder to take a baton to come and beat a woman than to beat a fellow man, especially if the woman is also not in combat mode. The society frowns upon you. Even your conscience will frown upon you. What are you doing? There is an essence of the beauty of a woman that you embrace and be yourself. I particularly was serving the school of thought of Kamala Harris. She embraced her soft power. She embraced who she is. It's just democracies are different, that people didn't choose her, but I love the way she carried herself in her space as a woman, not trying to embody the face of a man. I think sometimes as women, we mistake and forget that there's a strength that you have in itself as a woman. We are created differently with different strengths. That's why we're not going for equality. We're going for equity, because you can never have the same disposition as a man. But you have your own disposition, you have your own power, you have your own place. You have your own strength to be able to push whatever borders. So barriers for women, gender biases, lack of mentorship, socioeconomic challenges, promotion of disparity, or promotion disparity, and need for inclusion. Mentorship. How many of you have a mentee? How many of you have a mentee? How many are in the room today? Are we like 50? Can we agree today everyone gets a mentor or a mentee, especially our senior ladies? Get one mentee. It makes all the difference. You will be surprised. My mentor always tells me there's always room at the top. People have a cupcake. I love the way she says it. People always think in their mind that if you raise others, there will be not much to enjoy at the top. But she says that's a cupcake mentality. You will realize at the top there are very few. So when you uplift others, you'll realize there's so much more in diversity. In terms of gender biases, I think in your life and history, none of you can say you have not gotten that bias. Promotion disparity. I believe in the school of thought that there needs to be a way that we deal in equity terms when you go on maternity. Most of you go to maternity, depending on the organization, some have maternity stay. And if someone comes for maternity stay, you might get the unlikely challenge that they want to keep the maternity stay and find a way to exit you. But if they don't, when it comes to appraisals, is there somewhere that you manage the maternity disparity? You wouldn't have met your targets, right? You are away for 4 months if you combined your leave. So in your organizations, do you have a way to deal with that? Is there a way to deal with it? So you're deemed you didn't meet your targets, your colleagues, your male colleagues are able to rise up, you stay in the same level, yet you join the organization together. Questions of disparity in promotion. And also our ability, I say it depends on the person, because also there are men who don't know how to sell themselves in terms of being aggressive. And there are women who know how to really be aggressive. It's a character thing. And so the argument that people say that, oh, women get less pay because they don't know how to argue, there needs to be equity and fairness in terms of how does the organization structure deal. Because as long as you've met your targets, you're reaching the required numbers that is expected, or the goals that is expected of an organization, raise in terms of your fees should be fair like any other. And so as women, unfortunately, the question of inclusivity is a challenge that you'll continue to have, and it's either you make a difference at the positions that you have. So impact of inclusive policies: countries with gender inclusive policies experience higher economic growth, improved health outcomes. Inclusive policy creation environments foster inclusion, enhance national prosperity and stability. Uganda's case study is a good example of what you do when you empower women, what impact can you have as a country. I met the former head of state, of Liberia, and she gave a very passionate analysis of how she changed social health in her country, how she changed the education and the housing sector because of personally lived experiences. You know, the beauty of what women who can change in policies, you will change policy based on your personal experience. You're a mother, you're a nurturer, you're a sister, you're a friend who has witnessed somebody going through those personal experiences. When I'm talking about healthcare, I would talk about healthcare from the perspective of those who have seen suffering palliative care, having been a mother, the care that you've seen you getting in terms of when you give birth. Questioning why are more women going for CSs than natural birth, and yet it's a major operation. And the question of how do we deal with also our rogue colleagues, some who are doctors, who fail to carry out proper operation and leave items in patients, seeing patients dying unnecessarily. And also the question of negligence in terms of our laws, that it takes the standard is for another doctor of same standing, what would he have done? Which allows people to protect one another, and we have more deaths. So I would be seeing it from the lens of how I've lived it. And that's why certain areas women are better in dealing with, because you experience it personally. You're able to share, you can talk about reproductive health care with passion because you know what reproductive health care is. You experience it. Education, I think Magoa was one of the greatest who held that position. But I also believe women also play a very important role in education, because you're the ones who struggle to ensure that you see how your child is progressing, each and every day struggling to put food on the table. And also, when you make decisions, you want to work with everyone. That's the challenge of leadership. You work together as a team, you own it as one, and you as the leader must hold responsibility, and you ask your question, will I be able to take the flak when it comes? And so at the end of the day, sometimes these mentors, of course, God, I believe in God and God is my guide, but mentors as well really play an important role in terms of supporting you and also helping you fight that imposter syndrome. Because you cannot be perfect, but there are people who can help support you in your decision-making process and give you also that confidence. There'll never be a leader like you. There'll never be a woman like you. There'll never be somebody who can make that extra mile or go the extra mile the way you do. I believe in women leadership and women empowerment and women mentorship. When sometimes people ask you, how do you balance? You know, I can't ask a man how he balances because our societal norms are different in terms of the expectation of a woman. I still have to do school days. I still have to go and sit and listen to the teacher. I still have to, when the child is hurt, the child cries who? Mommy. And so you have to remember all those rules, and you still have to cook at home. Once in a while you have to go and cook and show you're still in control of your kitchen. But only another woman can understand when I'm expressing my pressure, because she knows all the other roles that you're balancing and all the other expectations that you have. And that's why I urge today, make that decision as we have the women leadership in women leaders in governance setting up. Remember to pick a mentee. Have more women so that next time the room is not just this room, we extend it to the other side by mentoring somebody else. You will impact on their personal decisions, you will impact in their directions in life, you'll help them grow. But most importantly, they'll not have to, learn by experience. They can learn from your influence and see them grow to greater heights. I'm honored to have been called here to speak to great women, and I hope the great women in this room are going to ensure. We have said at least how many? At least how many? So it's a resolution. We'll have at least one mentee. We agree? God bless you all.